All right, you guys, happy Tuesday. What can I say other than it is a woman's intuition, which is funny because we ended yesterday's episode where I was saying, women, we don't know, but we know. And many ladies got that. We just know stuff. We get vibes. And last week, I was looking at the CEO of the Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring's tweets, and something just felt off. So we did an entire episode, well, actually, just the beginning of an episode, but we quite literally entitled it Just Asking Questions About the Daily Wire. And today, just 4 days later, news breaks that Jeremy Boring is stepping down. So our answer has arrived. Let's jump right into that. Let's get started and welcome back to Candace. You guys, I am having deja vu. I am having deja vu. It's like I've already been here before. You're not going to believe this. Today is my fire diversary. You're wondering what a fire diversary is. It's the anniversary of the day you got fired. So shout out to anyone who's been fired before. But last year on March 18th, I received news that I was no longer employed at the Daily Wire, which did arrive as somewhat of a shock to me. And we're fast forwarding now exactly 1 year later, because ironically, right after my exit was announced a few days later, then the entire Christ is King debacle took place online, courtesy of Andrew Klavan, who did this whole video about my exit and accused me of all sorts of things that we don't need to relitigate because I have moved on, and I am certain so has he. But it was a bit of a Lent surprise to be fired. It was a bit of a Lent surprise to have like the Christ is King thing being branded as something that it most certainly is not. And we're doing that again. We're doing the Christ is King thing again. And this time I can't get fired. Well, I could, I guess. My husband could fire me, but he can't fire me this time. So I'm safe. I am marked safe from being fired at Lent. But there has been a major announcement today, 1 year later, that Jeremy Boring is, quote unquote, stepping down from his role as the co-CEO of Daily Wire. Now, before we get into the internet speculation as to what the heck is happening, in case you are not in conservative political land, you're not sure why exactly this is trending, Jeremy Boring was the co-CEO of the Daily Wire, and he was what I would describe as a rare CEO in his decision to be front-facing. And I come from a corporate environment, like I worked in private equity. Typically, CEOs like to be behind the scenes. They like to be quiet. They give statements to the press when it's necessary. Jeremy Boring was the exact opposite of this, right? He absolutely loves the cameras. He loves to monologue. He writes long tweets. He likes to share his ideas, which, by the way, no shade. It makes sense when you understand his background. He was like a drama kid growing up. He's spoken about this at length. He also named the company after his drama club, Bent Key, as it's called, and he wears the key around his neck because it was like the key to his drama theater. I think, I believe it's the key to his theater that he worked at when he was younger. And he speaks often about how he got involved with the Daily Wire. He was formerly a guy who was trying to make it in Hollywood as an actor. Again, this is all according to him. Didn't work out for him. And then suddenly he becomes the co-CEO of the Daily Wire. And I would say it is a fair assessment that he brought a lot of those Hollywood aspects to him, with him, to the world of politics and media. For better or worse, it is not up for me to judge. But I want to be clear that when I say that he was a front-facing CEO, I mean he was front and center-facing. He did many interviews, he did podcasts, he hosted the Backstage show, and he also felt the need to put his name on the products that were coming out of the Daily Wire. For example, Jeremy's Razors. You guys remember this. Now, to be clear, what was fascinating about this is the backstory. You would have thought it would have been named Michael's Razors because the backstory is Michael Knowles, who is one of the big talent at the Daily Wire, kind of got unceremoniously dropped by Harry's Razors because he came on my show when I was at PragerU and we spoke about the trans issue. And essentially they canceled Michael Knowles and said, we're no longer going to read ads with you. And rather than saying, okay, we're going to have Michael Knowles launch Michael's Razors, in response to this, Jeremy said, we're going to launch a razor company and it's going to be called Jeremy's Razors. Okay. Another example, if you remember this, when I was at the Daily Wire, there was also Jeremy's Chocolates, another backstory there. And this one is, I always felt was quite ironic because he was going after Hershey's. And the reason that they were going after Hershey's was because on International Women's Day, Hershey's decided to promote a transgendered woman. So a biological male became the face of International Women's Day. And he was saying that's not right. So we're going to launch Jeremy's chocolate. Which I always thought was like, okay, but then aren't you doing the same thing? Shouldn't it be Brett Cooper's chocolate? I don't know. The point is that when there was kind of a moment that was building culturally, Jeremy would launch a product and typically his name went on it. And that's what I mean when I say that he was sort of front and center facing. Recently, he was just sort of doing and saying a lot that felt off. And in the public sphere, everyone was commenting on this, just kind of going, okay, I get that you offer a lot of commentary, but something feels in this environment emotionally off. And when I say emotionally off, I would think the fairest way to summarize it would be to say that he was being unnecessarily confrontational with everyone. Like it just felt like, does everything need to be a confrontation? And Brett Cooper, obviously, the backstory of that, she was without a question the breakout star of the Daily Wire. She is just a tremendous talent, very young, Gen Z, did something different with the comment section. She kind of announced that she was leaving. It was considered unceremonious because the public wasn't expecting it. This was back in December of last year. And it was heavily rumored at that time amongst YouTubers and internet sleuths that Jeremy then handpicked her best friend and maid of honor. Brett Cooper got married last April. This girl was her maid of honor. Her name is Reagan Conrad. He had handpicked this young woman to replace Brett. And the rumors and innuendo online was because he just kind of wanted to get back at Brett. Now, I want to be very clear. That's rumor and innuendo. Neither Jeremy nor Brett confirmed that rumor at all. But what we do know is that Brett Cooper and Reagan did in fact stop being friends after this. And what we do know is that Reagan did then take over her position. And what we do know is that Reagan's cousin came out and did a video and at the very least confirmed the rumors that Reagan was supposed to have left the Daily Wire with Brett and then did a 180 and decided to stay because of the money that they offered her, which she said was like, a consistent stream of income. And she felt that that was defensive territory. So that's what we know. We obviously, again, cannot confirm that Jeremy handpicked her to get back at Brett. Now, Reagan taking over the comment section from an objective numerical standard clearly did not go over well with the public. Now, whatever reason you want to read into that, maybe because they felt that Brett was being backstabbed or that Jeremy did something wrong. The show itself is not doing what Brett's show was doing. Brett's show was averaging from 500,000 to 1 million views per a video. Here is Reagan's channel today. This is just a screenshot that we took 1 hour ago. Okay, so you can see that we are averaging about 20,000 views in 24-hour span, or actually less than that. It's just not the show that it was. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Some people have YouTube channels, and to some people that 20,000 in 24 hours actually is a lot. But what happened thereafter was atypical. Jeremy did something that I think any person in a boardroom would describe as ill-advisable, which is when you launch something and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, you just pivot. You pivot the product, or you say, it's fine, I don't really care. Maybe you're making money, who knows? But you don't blame the consumer. You don't blame the audience of the Daily Wire for not consuming the content. And that's what he did. And here is a video of that. And this, again, was something that the public flagged as this seems like caged emotion. Take a listen.
What Reagan hasn't done is taking acting classes to be more like Brett Cooper. That is just completely absurd. And it's hurt my feelings a little bit that Brett hasn't done more to defend her friend, Reagan. Brett chose to leave the show. It was her idea, her stated desire to leave the show and to leave the company. She had personally recommended Reagan to me. Before she told me she wanted to leave the show, she had personally recommended Reagan to me and told me that if she ever did leave the show, Reagan would be a great person to consider to host it, and that at any rate, I should give something to Reagan because she should be on screen talent. And I know that most of these attacks on Reagan are completely unfair. They're completely disingenuous. People aren't really raising these criticisms. They're either helping to craft or buying into a narrative which has been crafted by people who want the Daily Wire to fail and want Reagan to fail in the role. And both will be disappointed because Reagan will not fail in this role. And the Daily Wire will not fail. We continue to grow and we continue to succeed.
Reagan will not fail. The Daily Wire will not fail. It just seemed like he was saying too much. Nobody wanted the Daily Wire to fail. Nobody wanted Reagan to fail. It's okay sometimes when something goes out and it's just not the response that you expected or anticipated it was. And that kind of got the rumor mill going. And it was then rumored that the Daily Wire was looking to sell, or rather, I shouldn't say it was rumored, they were not closed off from a sale. That came from Jeremy directly. He gave that to Axios in a statement, and I can show you. Axios reported, quote, between the lines, asked about a deal with Fox. Boring said the company isn't actively looking for a buyer, but we're not closed off to an offer. It's easy, and then this is a quote from Jeremy, it's easy to imagine a strategic partnership with Fox or someone like Fox that could be mutually beneficial. I think that we complement Fox and don't compete with Fox, he added, noting Daily Wire's audience is primarily younger and more coastal urban. So it seemed like, I don't know, how would you read that statement? I read that as, hey, we're kind of looking for someone to maybe show some interest in a strategic partnership. That's exactly what he's explicitly stating, which it seemed to me to be unusual because they had been kind of, or at least while I was the Daily Wire, painting a vision into the future. We're going to take over Disney. And now it's kind of like, oh, maybe we will partner with Fox and, you know, we're not closed off from a sale sort of a thing. And this was followed, and this was recently, and what I'm going to show you is literally just the last 2 weeks of Jeremy's tweets. It was just a lot of emotion coming from Jeremy Boring towards people that I would say, generally speaking, don't have a lot of issues with others. Like, these are not people that you expect are going to have fights picked with them. They're not confrontational people, so to speak. I mean, and people are all texting and rumbling and saying, like, what's going on? Like, why is he being so confrontational? I mean, you know, crafting a message about Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan, Jason Whitlock, Ian Carroll, and primarily it was conversations that had ideas that he did not agree with. And his reaction to those conversations didn't seem even with the conversations that were being had. You know, me going on Theo Vaughn, Ian Carroll going on Joe Rogan, and then this tweet rather that he had about it, describing it as the worst day for Jews that he's ever experienced in his lifetime. I mean, that's a strong statement. Yesterday was a terrible day for American Jews. We're talking about Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn, okay? The embrace by so many prominent voices of demented, conspiratorial, anti-Jewish voices is one of the saddest, most alarming events in my lifetime. This way lies madness and worse than madness. That, I think, if you are a person and you watched the conversation between Ian Carroll and Joe Rogan and me and Theo Vaughn, you didn't get that. Like, that wasn't you didn't do that. You didn't put your head down and say, in my life, like, pull it back up. I mean, that's very strong, right? That's the most alarming event in your lifetime. Like, look, I'm only 35. I've had more alarming events in my lifetime. And I'm talking like, you know, it was alarming to me when I was in kindergarten and we did our first fire drill. That felt like more of an alarming event than what I watched transpire between Ian Carroll and Joe Rogan. They seemed to be having tons of conversation about things that were fun. They were thinking, challenging each other, pushing back and forth. And actually, Ian Carroll explicitly said, like, this is not about Jews. And I want to make that very clear. Like, we're talking about the state of Israel. Theo Vaughn told me that he gets milk jugs from McDonald's. He's the only person in the world that gets milk jugs from McDonald's. So at a certain point, you start to wonder, okay, is this you're the front-facing CEO. Again, you've branded yourself as that, and you've said 1,000 times, I want to be the front-facing CEO. Well, that means that every tweet that you issue is going to necessarily backlash that's going to be felt by the Daily Wire as a business, because you're saying, I am the face of this company, right? I am literally the face that you can buy shaving cream from, okay? And so that was strange. It was just strange. Objectively, it was perceived as strange from the public, I should say. And then he got into a fight with Jason Whitlock, who's like, he just talks about sports all the time. And they announced that they were interested in having, and by they, I mean Ben Shapiro announced that he was launching a petition for Derek Chauvin to be pardoned by President Trump. And it was met with a flurry of reaction. Some people said this is absolutely not the right time. Most people said it's not the right time for this, and it would actually hurt Trump to do this. And then other people who were more measured and just said, like, why would he want to go back to Minnesota prison if he gets pardoned federally? He still has his state. And Jason Whitlock was one of these people who said that this just feels random. Again, he comments on sports. I would say 98% of what he comments on is sports. So he responded to Ben's petition, which, by the way, I agree with Ben that Derek Chauvin was wrongly convicted. Ben knows I agree with him on that. We've spoken about that on Backstage together. I also think it's ill-advised because of the state crime, but whatever, open to a debate. Jason Whitlock writes, what's going on here? This seems out of nowhere from the Daily Wire, given the fact that it's separated from Candace Owens. Now, his reason for saying that is simply because I did the documentary on George Floyd. But, I don't own George Floyd or own the documentary. And then he goes on and he says, if Trump took this on right now, it would sabotage and overshadow other agendas. I believe Chauvin was wrongly convicted, but the timing of this campaign seems out of place. Okay, that's fair critique. You could just respond evenly to this. Here is what Jeremy shot back. He wrote back, if Ben Shapiro cured cancer, Jason Whitlock would find something in it to bitch about. Okay. Wow. Okay. Maybe not a fan of Jason Whitlock's sports commentary. Maybe Jason Whitlock is getting it wrong on sports commentary. Jason writes back and he says, seems like an overreaction. Seems like something a LeBron fan would say about me or Stephen A. Smith. Someone refresh my memory. How often do I discuss Shapiro? This seems really overcooked. I'm asking legit questions and Jeremy is lobbing personal attacks. Weird. I'm not allowed to question. And then Jeremy responds to this and he says, you're allowed to do whatever you want, which typically involves being a dick towards us any chance you get. And hashtag just asking questions is a cowardly grift. If you want to make an accusation, be a man and make it. I'm like, okay, this is like, fight me outside. Let's fight right now. You're like, whoa, I feel like this is something else could be going on because this can't be about me saying this is not the best timing with Trump. And it just felt very aggressive. It was perceived as aggressive. Jason Whitlock then went on his show and said, I don't know what this is. This is a total overreaction to what I've said. And again, this was being debated in public. Even Matt Walsh said, here's what I think. I responded to him and I said, I don't think this is a good idea because of his state. Like, he would have to go back to Minnesota and be in a tiny cell, which his mother hated. I don't know why that couldn't be the level of respect that was being given back to Jason Whitlock. Again, someone who majority just comments on sports and then wades in politically on a variety of topics. So we were seeing this, and then he got into it and started saying that Jason Whitlock, who has been someone who has condemned Andrew Tate over and over and over and over again, started saying that he backs Andrew Tate. And that is just objectively not true. It's objectively not true to say that about Jason Whitlock. So it was a lot. And then on top of that, by the way, I'm showing you, this is just in the last 10 days. This is just like a 10-day purview of Jeremy's tweets. He then wades into the Christ is King non-debacle because no one was talking about Christ is King this year. And then people woke up one day and chose violence. I don't know. There's something about Lent. There is something, 'tis the season, something about Christ, and people just get going, and Jeremy just weighed in on this in a long tweet. He wrote this. I'm not going to read the whole thing, honestly, but you get the point. There's no effort on the American right to prevent Christians from declaring the truth that Christ is King. There's an important effort to encourage Christians to be discerning about the motives of some malefactors who would exploit the language of faith in order to foster evil. There is a reason Jesus Christ the King says that not everyone who calls him Lord will be saved. There is a reason an entire commandment warns against carrying his name in vain. Anyone who says Christ is King because they believe Jesus of it's just a lot. And again, I would maybe just stay out of it. I would just maybe stay out of it if it was me. And I am not the CEO of my company. My husband is, but he just kind of stays out of things and doesn't tweet. And I think there's a reason for that because everyone will begin to see your company through that lens, through the lens of your ideas. And then there was a lot of tweets aimed at Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is extremely well liked. A lot of tweets insinuating that Tucker Carlson is platforming people who are anti-Semitic. Tucker Carlson this, Tucker Carlson that. And then he tweeted this in the last 48 hours. I predicted in January of 2024 that Tucker would conclude that America was the bad guy in World War II. I'm not a prophet. It's just been clear for a long time where this was going. And actually, if you watch the clip, Tucker says no such thing. And so it just becomes a question of whether or not someone has read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, because I don't think that this was influencing people in a way that made them go, I want to sign up for the Daily Wire right now. You know, that's the question. This is great. This feels great. I'm going to go sign up for the Daily Wire right now. And so we were all kind of going, we don't know what's going on, but something is clearly going on because it's just a lot to happen in a very short amount of time. And then today in Axios, it was reported exclusive Daily Wire co-CEO Jeremy Boring to step down. Language here says Jeremy Boring, co-founder of the Daily Wire, is stepping down from his role as co-CEO to focus on creative projects for the company. He told staff in a memo obtained by Axios on Tuesday. Caleb Robinson, the company's founding CEO, will become the company's full-time CEO effective immediately. Robinson and Boring have been co-CEOs since 2019. In a note to staff, Boring said that he will remain with the company in an advisory role. He will continue to host Daily Wire Backstage, the company's monthly show featuring Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, and Andrew Klavan. He will focus full-time on creative projects, including the completion of Daily Wire's TV series, The Pendragon Cycle, in which he serves as director and executive producer. Okay, now, don't know how everybody else feels about that announcement. A couple of things that immediately jumped out to me about the statement is that it does feel like you're trying to smooth things over without giving people very many facts, okay? It is completely unusual for a CEO of a company to step down, and there have been no reason for that step down. Least of all, if it's going to be because you're going to be involved more creatively, then what's your new title? Like, that's what I was looking for in the announcement. Like, if this was like a sincere need him to focus on creative projects, I was waiting for he will now assume the role of our chief creative director. That is a role of our creative director, of the president of the creative team. There's none of that. It just says he's going to advise. And what is he advising on? Well, they say like the Pendragon Cycle. Well, to be clear, the Pendragon Cycle is a series that was shot as a passion of Jeremy's. It was, I think, he announced that it was the book that held the most meaning to him because of one thing or another. I can't remember. And so they jumped into this project, but that movie was supposed to be released last year. So that movie part in that series is already a year late from being released, which would make me think that that release is imminent. So to say that he's going to work on something that should have been done a year ago and he's going to do that in an advisory capacity does not actually sound, to me at least, and we're obviously awaiting more information, and I'll say this to the team right now, if more is coming out, please let me know. Obviously, we are live here. That doesn't sound like he is being rotated within the company. That sounds like this is a nice landing pad for us to say, like, you know, he's going to be involved creatively as an advisor. What's his title? What is his title? You go from CEO to what? Chief what? President of what? Advisor? Seems vague, right? And why isn't that statement accompanied by a statement from the new CEO? Like, that's in Axios, and it makes me wonder, like, does Jeremy have a PR team that worked on getting that placed? And what's interesting is I was awaiting kind of Ben's statement. These two are best friends, refreshing to see what Ben had to say about this on his X feed. He has said nothing across his social media channels. That strikes me as odd. That's a very loud silence. And rather, he went very corporate. He gave a statement, which is exactly the sort of a statement that I would have had expected him to give, to the Daily Wire on the Daily Wire website. This is where you can actually find a statement from Ben Shapiro and Caleb Robinson. Now, of course, Ben Shapiro is not becoming the CEO, but he is very much considered the face of the Daily Wire. And so it would have been incumbent upon him to say something. And he handled that in an extraordinarily professional manner. That's what I want to point out. This is a corporate, proper announcement, which he should do. I want to be clear. This is exactly what Ben should do. And this is the way it should happen. And these things shouldn't happen on Twitter. But again, for your best friend, and many times that Jeremy has said, I'm his only friend, it feels like there's something more than that, than that's meeting the eye, right? So Here is a statement from Ben Shapiro. Again, can be found on the Daily Wire website. Jeremy's hard work and brilliant leadership have been indispensable to the growth of this company from an idea to the largest conservative digital media company in the country, said Shapiro. Jeremy is a tremendous talent, and we're thrilled to get even more of his creative focus in the business as we head into the next phase of expansion. We can't wait to see what he does next. Whoa. That's quite the last sentence there. We can't wait to see what he does next. Pull it back up again. I just want to show what we're not hearing, right? He's a tremendous talent. We're thrilled to get even more of his creative focus in the business. In what capacity? As we head into the next phase of expansion, what has he become now that he is not the CEO? And then you say, we can't wait to see what he does next. Again, this feels like we're moving on. That's what it feels like to me, and I could be wrong. And of course, we will update this if suddenly they're like, he is going to be the chief, but you get a title or you don't. And I'm not hearing a title here. We also have a statement from Caleb Robinson, which is to be expected because the new CEO, and he's the co-CEO, but now he is absorbing all the power as the executive here. And he has given this statement. He says, we couldn't be more excited for this next phase of the Daily Wire's growth and for Jeremy as he pursues the completion of Pendragon. Okay, which should have been completed a year ago, or I guess they missed the deadline, and then moves on to work with us on further important creative endeavors that we have in the works, said Robinson. Okay, in what capacity? Jeremy's creative contributions over the last decade have helped shape the face of podcasting and digital media. With Pendragon on the horizon, the best is yet to come. Now, neither of them are saying that he's going to be hosting backstage, so that's interesting. That just came from Axios and came from Jeremy. They're kind of saying he's working on Pendragon. That's got to be near completion. Again, like I said, and then we're getting nothing. He's just going to kind of help with creative stuff and if you put together Jeremy's statement, as an advisor. So am I reading this wrong, or does this feel like, we don't know, but we know, ladies. We don't know, but we know. And soon we're going to know, because I think what's going to happen now is that more stuff is going to come out about the Daily Wire. So now just turning to some reactions. Obviously, we're doing the show live. We have, first and foremost, obviously, everyone was looking to see what Brett Cooper would say. Largely felt like she remained silent on her exit, maybe because she had to remain silent on her exit. We don't know. But she tweeted this in response to the news, a GIF of Jimmy Fallon kind of looking like he wants to burst out laughing and then just sort of nodding. And I think that probably says it all. She followed that up with this, which says a lot. She says, genuinely excited to see where Ben and Caleb take the company next. So she, if we're reading that correctly, is thinking that this was a good move for the company. We have not yet had a tweet. And you guys, can you live check from Matt Walsh or Michael Knowles? They have not said anything about the news. Jason Whitlock has come out and he has said this as a joke. My understanding is Jeremy will focus full-time on smearing me, Tucker Carlson, and anyone else who disagrees with the God King. God King, by the way, is what Jeremy calls himself. He calls himself the lowercase God King. So, yeah. It seems like he will not be missed by Jason Whitlock. Then we have people who are starting to put pieces together. Now, these are swirling rumors that are coming from various reporters and people that are, like me, just trying to read what's possibly going on. First up, let's go to The Quartering, who has been covering a lot about Brett's exit. I think his name is also Jeremy, by the way. And here is his video and his perception of what's happening.
Usually when CEOs step down, it's not by choice. I'm just gonna be very clear about that. I'm not saying there's some sort of huge scandal going on, but it does seem like the Daily Wire has been treading water for a while. It seems like perhaps they spread themselves too thin with, Ben Key and everything else. And also it's possible that, they're looking into what exactly the future is with entertainment. I don't know if Jeremy Boring was directly behind or, the cause of people like Brett Cooper leaving. But let's not forget, he had a pretty public feud with Brett Cooper, saying that she hasn't defended other people on the show. The Daily Wire has lost probably 50% of their shows and 60% of their viewership. Matt Walsh is still very popular. Ben Shapiro is less popular now, but still obviously a huge draw. Candace was a rising star. They lost her. And Brett Cooper was probably their biggest rising star, and they lost her. And both of those happened in the last, month or so. When you look at Twitter's reaction, they don't seem all that surprised. Jeremy Boring has resigned as CEO of the Daily Wire. The company's rapidly declined since losing Candace Owens and Brett Cooper. Maybe new leadership will stop censoring the hosts if they disagree with Ben Shapiro. I mean, it's possible. But a guy that calls himself God King probably does not step down as CEO willingly.
And in terms of rumors and innuendo, Ian Carroll, who obviously was at the receiving end of some, I guess you could call it strong words from Jeremy Boring, has put together a video. Now, he has had a very interesting leg into the Daily Wire. I found out a lot of stuff about my own firing that I didn't know because of Ian Carroll. That was kind of the first time that I had really heard about him. And he had insight from employees about things and that I didn't know that were happening behind the scenes. And here's what he is reporting is happening at the Daily Wire. Take a listen.
The Daily Wire is going bankrupt, allegedly, and Jeremy Boring is officially out as CEO. That's right. The self-proclaimed God King of the Daily Wire is at the heart of so many scandals. And yes, he is self-described as the God King. And the email just went out today internally that he is stepping down and now Axios is covering the story. It has not yet broken, as far as I'm aware, that private equity is moving in and looking to buy up the Daily Wire. I heard, rumor mill, that Silver Lake Capital is looking to buy them up. And yo, Silver Lake, you guys might want to watch this video before you think too hard about it, because there's a lot that is not in the public square right now. We're about to get into stuff like canceled credit cards, lying to the press, trying to trick Tim Pool. As far as I can tell from my sources, even people inside of the Daily Wire only know part of the story, and they're all kind of getting played against each other. It's a whole mess. And the most important part of this mess is that the Daily Wire has a long history of treating their employees like shit. And so I've had numerous sources inside the Daily Wire for quite some time because everyone hates them, even their own people. They're portraying it as though Jeremy Boring is willingly stepping back to work on creative projects like the Pendragon cycle, and that he'll remain with the company in an advisory role. My sources are telling me that the Pendragon cycle is being moved off-site and out of the Daily Wire's physical purview because they're not letting Jeremy Boring back in the building right now, apparently. Jeremy Boring was 100% allegedly forced out, not a willing leave. Like even Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring, it sounds like there's a huge rift between them from what I'm hearing. There's even rumors that I can't confirm quite yet that Ben Shapiro hired his own PR person like months ago. And you remember when Tim Pool was rearranging his business and all sorts of weird stuff was happening there? I don't even know if Tim knows this yet directly, but it sounds like the Daily Wire was trying to manipulate him into buying the Daily Wire and trying to present it as super profitable. The rumors I'm hearing is that Jeremy Boring thought Tim Pool would be dumb enough to fall for it, and he was the exact kind of guy they could sell to. I heard that they allegedly offered him an all-stock deal, which would be worth because their stock is worthless because they're bankrupt, allegedly.
I don't know anything about that, any of this stuff, because obviously I haven't been at the Daily Wire for a year. And so I would not know any circumstances regarding the financials or whether or not they offered Tim Pool a deal. But it's interesting coming from him because there have been some things that Ian Carroll has said that have ended up being true. So this is a part of the chatter that's happening again. Now, what can I say in terms of my own personal opinion about this? I would definitely agree that it's tremendous news. I would agree with Ben and Caleb that it is tremendous news. I think that Ben and Caleb have made the right decision and if it was their decision to transition him to the creative side, I think that it has been a part of Jeremy wanting to be a creative that has lived with him from the time that he was very young. And it will be nice to see him pursue what he has always wanted. And I wish him the absolute best. I hope he, gets the spotlight that I think he craves. Maybe he goes back to Hollywood. Who knows what he does next? But And hopefully we're all reading this correctly. Maybe he'll add more. Maybe we will see him on backstage. Just as a quick update, there still has not been any commentary from Michael or Matt Knowles. You know, my estimation is I've been in this for a very long time, and I can say Jeremy is unlike any CEO that I have ever worked with, have ever worked for. He is a total anomaly. And I think that for the Daily Wire, this sounds like they're all happy about the decision. And so I think it's okay for us to also say that we are very happy for the Daily Wire in this decision. I suspect much more will come out in the months now that kind of the figurative dam has broken. And yeah, I guess we'll all just stay tuned. And I certainly want to be clear that I don't wish any ill will on the Daily Wire. I have friends that work there. There are tremendous employees that work there. I've said that from the very beginning. Love Matt, love Michael. Me and Ben obviously have a ton of disagreements, but in terms of my working capacity with him, there's not a bad story that I could share, mostly because he lives in Florida and he's never said or done anything rude to me in my face. So I think this is a good thing for the company, is what I would say. I think it is a very good thing for the company. And I'm just going to have to leave it at that for right now, until I learn whether or not I can say more than that. Over the last month, we have truly seen how much wasteful spending the last administration was doing. While the Fed has been working to rein in inflation, the broader economy is still feeling the effects, particularly in everyday items like food, housing, and healthcare. If you've been worried about your savings or retirement, it's time to take a look at diversifying your savings with GoldCo. Gold has been recognized as a store of wealth for thousands of years. Unlike other assets, its value is not tied to the performance of any company or government, making it less susceptible to the volatility of the financial markets. GoldCo has made buying metals very simple. They are a huge supporter of the show, and they're very good at what they do. Right now, you can get a free 2025 gold and silver kit, jam-packed with great information about buying precious metals. You could also qualify for up to a 10% instant match in bonus silver. It's really a tremendous deal, especially right now. So go to CandaceLikesGold.com to learn more. That is CandaceLikesGold.com. Also, if there are two things in life that are certain, it is death and taxes. Well, now there's a third certainty. If you're with Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, you could be saving a fortune every month by switching to PureTalk. PureTalk, my cell phone company, is cutting the fat from the wireless industry for just $25 a month. You can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data on America's most dependable 5G network. The average family of 4 saves over $1,000 a year when they switch to PureTalk. That's real money right back into your pocket. And with PureTalk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch hassle-free in as little as 10 minutes. You can even keep your phone, and your phone number. Right now, go to puretalk.com/Owens to make the switch, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Owens to start saving today. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans for Americans. I cannot wait to get into your comments about all of this and to hear what people have to say. Yeah, I am very interested in that. First, I just wanted to say, I saw this hilarious poll or question that was being asked. She's great. House and Habit is what she goes by on Instagram. Her real name is Jessica Reed Krause, and she kind of just will ask people questions about things. And she asked over the weekend whether or not it was weird that Elon Musk's kid, his little ex, was with Trump. And this was the headline in the Mirror. It said, Trump seen on grandpa duties with Musk's son, X, as he helps toddler climb the steps of Marine One. And these photos were going viral of him Trump walking with Elon Musk's 4-year-old son, who, by the way, is adorable. Like, that kid is really freaking cute. I love his, long coat. Kids are adorable always, and he just looks to be, he actually is doing the exact same jump that Elon did. I've seen Elon do that exact jump. But it's interesting because it's the president of the United States, and we are seeing him with the child as if it is his grandchild. And people are like, it's just weird. And this is one of those moments where I'm just like, can we all just stop being so partisan that we can't just agree on certain... Yes, of course it's weird. Yes, of course it's weird. It is weird how much Elon Musk is around. The kid is adorable, but let's put the shoe on the other foot, okay? Let's put the shoe on the other foot and imagine that Joe Biden was constantly with Mark Zuckerberg, always with Mark Zuckerberg. And then him and Mark Zuckerberg's son were just walking together by themselves getting onto a plane, and Joe Biden was picking up Mark Zuckerberg's son. Every conservative under the sun would be like, this is weird. What's going on? What is going on? It's weird. It is getting weird out there. And it's okay. You don't like dishonor Trump when you say stuff that's objectively true. It just makes yourself like more credible. Because I want to be able to, when the Dems inevitably get power again, because that's how it swings, Republican Dems, I want to be able to make fun of stuff. I want to be able to say, this is weird. And I'm consistent on this, that like, it's just getting a little weird. And so when I saw that, I was just laughing and going, guys, it's fine. People are so tribal sometimes. You just can't acknowledge that, like, no, it would not be, we would not be chill if this was Mark Zuckerberg and Biden, nor should we, because it's strange. Anyways, Elon Musk loved it. He tweeted the picture saying, that's a happy picture. And his son is adorable, by the way. His son is absolutely adorable. I wish he had a longer name. I feel weird calling him X, little X, like a rapper. Maybe a little Xavier. He's sweet, sweet boy. Okay. Also wanted to tell you this. This is really interesting to me as we speak about Hollywood and kind of like the fall of Hollywood and the awakening that I think a lot of us are having in, you know, figures or people that you put a lot of emphasis on and you want to believe in the character of who they are, and then you kind of find out who they are behind the scenes does not add up to that at all. That's kind of been the lesson for me, especially over this last year, whether it's in politics or whether it's in Hollywood, and it's us covering the Justin Baldoni saga, and a lot of Taylor Swift fans are asking a lot of questions. Look at this headline. This is tremendously sad, okay? So Taylor Swift is having like a very bad godmother year. And you can say that because obviously she's godmother to all of Blake Lively's children. It turns out that Blake Lively is a raging narcissist, as is her husband, and they're quite mean to people. Well, Taylor Swift has another godson named Leo, sweet boy, whose mother is the famous actress Jamie King. And we have known that her and Taylor Swift have been friends forever. This is a part of her girl gang that everyone kind of craved. Oh, I wish I had a friend just like Taylor Swift. It must be so amazing. And then we learned that she had divorced her husband. And in a very unusual thing, it's announced that the father has received custody of the child, the ex-husband, Kyle Newman. The courts do not do this lightly. I want to be clear. There are plenty of women who should have their children taken away and given to the father, but the courts are so favorable to women that it's like virtually impossible for this to happen unless the mother is like a raging drug addict. And it turns out, and this is, again, is very sad. So this is not to mock Jamie King. This is something that, like I say, when it comes to addiction, these sorts of issues should be something that brings the nation together. I don't know a single family that has not been touched by addiction, my family included. Okay, like for me to be like, oh, people just don't do drugs, don't abstain, I would be so high and mighty on my horse, it would be ridiculous. But it is super sad when I read this story, and that her ex-husband has explicitly come out and said, like, she does not care. She is a drug addict, and she is an alcoholic, and she's been one since forever. And the judge is now ruling in his favor. What I didn't know was that her son was born with a heart defect because, according to her husband, she was abusing drugs while she was pregnant. And so the reason why I wanted to bring this up, again, is not, I genuinely hope Jamie King gets all the help that she gets. Addiction is, if you have never known someone with addiction, it's a demonic possession. It's the only way you can describe it, is as a true demonic possession. And there, to me, in a circumstance like that, you do need God. You need God. You need a priest. I think that's the only way that you can get through it. And I wish that for Jamie King. But I bring this up because I just so remember our brains being seared with all of that imagery of like girl power with like Taylor Swift and Blake Lively, and now we know who Blake Lively is, and Cara Delevingne, who, congratulations to her, she has gotten sober. But then we learned that she was also in the midst of like battling a drug addiction. And now Jamie, who we now know with all those pictures, oh, I'm the godmother, all of this stuff, that she's been battling this addiction the entire time. And so everything in Hollywood is just not what it seems, you know? And I think so often we look into their lives and we imagine, oh, what would it be like for me to have 10 best friends marching in bad, all these cool, amazing people. I want to be like them. No, you don't. You know, look around you. Your life is probably pretty great and you don't even recognize it, because what Hollywood is really good at is making everything glitter, only for you to get close and recognize that it is not gold. And it can't be gold because a lot of it is serving the interests that are satanic, you know, wanting stuff, wanting things, wanting money, and not actually pursuing the things that make you wholesome. Like you actually, what you probably have is something that you should value and be proud of. And what you think you want to attain is not real. I just wanted to say that. And that's the only point in me having brought up this story. All right, going to remind you of a couple more of our sponsors before we get to your comments, which should be nitty gritty. You guys do not behave in the live chat, by the way. I did not read the live chat live today because you guys are just bugging. You're bad people. I always tell you, live chat people, they say stuff and it's really funny. But I can never read you guys out loud. I'm reminding you about American financing because interest rates have actually dropped. It's time to take advantage. A lot of Americans are struggling to keep up with everyday bills, eggs, coffee, and you're reaching for the credit cards to pay for this. If you're a homeowner, interest rates have fallen into the fives. That's nearly a quarter of the average credit card rate. American financing is helping homeowners like you save an average of $800 a month by tapping into your home's equity and wiping out high interest debt. And the best part is there are no upfront fees to get started. Credit card rates are insane. And if you're carrying a balance every month, you're probably being stuck in an endless cycle. So you can break free today by calling American Financing and seeing how much you could be saving. And if you start now, you may even delay the next 2 mortgage payments. So call 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210. Or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. That's americanfinancing.net/Owens. Also, 7 Weeks Coffee. You already drink coffee. Do something good and make it support a cause that you care about. It is America's pro-life coffee company, 7 Weeks Coffee, and they are on a mission to fund the pro-life movement, 1 cup of coffee at a time. They're called 7 Weeks Coffee because at 7 weeks, a baby is the size of a coffee bean, and it's the same time a heartbeat is clearly detected on an ultrasound. That's why they donate 10% of every sale to support pregnancy care centers across the country. They've raised over $800,000 for these centers and have saved thousands of lives. Now I can tell you about the coffee because it's fantastic. It's mold-free, pesticide-free, shade-grown, low acid, and it's organically farmed. So it checks all the boxes. Right now, you can subscribe to 7 Weeks Coffee and you'll receive a free limited edition Lent tote designed to be a daily reminder to pray, fast, and drink 7 Weeks Coffee during Lenten season. So go to 7weekscoffee.com and save 15% forever when you subscribe. Plus, exclusively for my listeners, if you use code Candace for an extra 10% off of your first order, you will get it. That's a 25% total savings on your first order, plus a free gift. So visit 7weekscoffee.com and use promo code Candace. I'm scared to go to the comments because you people are crazy. I love you, and you're crazy like me. Crazy people in the comments. Oh, Cartier family. I've got to come on your show. I'm just always pregnant. I'm definitely Cartier family. It's Cartier. I say Cartier because it sounds bougie. Cartier family. They're fantastic. If you guys don't go over to their YouTube channel, you know what? Actually, they're plagiarizing. They used to just watch my content and just chill out. And I want to join them and just watch my content and chill out. I want that job. I want the job of watching my content. Just kidding. You guys are fantastic. And thank you so much for being in the live chat. We are definitely going to make it happen when I come down to Texas and I finally just stop being pregnant. It's been a long time. Ben Auten writes, these meltdowns over saying Christ is king are ridiculous, as is the claim that it's anti-Semitic. Perhaps a more bold declaration tethered to the tenets of Christianity. Christ lives. And ask Dave Smith to moderate your debate. I would love to have a debate on the topic of Christ is king. Danielle writes, thankful for you. Thank you, Danielle. Helda Chavez writes, I just bought more Candace merch. One of those is the autographed Candace cup. Just realized I should have bought a backup one that I could actually use. Thank you so much for supporting the show and supporting our independence. Penny writes, will your book be available for international under pre-order? Not under pre-order, just when it actually goes live in June. And do you have an update for your tour in Australia? The update is that we are going to the highest court in the land. We're going to the Australian Supreme Court, and I don't have a date for that, but the tour will be bumped thereafter. So assuming that we win and I'm allowed into Australia, and I shouldn't make that assumption because it's a country and I don't know what they think about speech, but I remain hopeful. If you want to follow that case, by the way, it's Candace Owens Farmer versus the Commonwealth of Australia, and Tony Burke, the Home Minister, I think is the official name of that suit. This user writes, why doesn't Candace use facial recognition software on the 18-year-old Jean-Michel picture and Brigitte? They used it on other photos, but not on this one. Very strange. We mentioned why, because you can't do side-by-side of 2 photos that have glasses. The facial recognition software doesn't allow you to do that. Or they tell you that it's not advised that you do it because glasses can change your nose shape and your forehead and stuff. So that's why. It's 2 photos side by side of both people wearing glasses. That is not permitted. That was my understanding from Xavier, and we spoke about that. This next person writes, sorry to even bring this up. You may be the only person strong enough to investigate World War II. It's a pain that you have to be the catalyst for so many other networks, but God chose you. Love you. Apparently, Tucker Carlson is discussing World War II. I have told people which documentary I watched that completely woke me up to it, which was a PBS and a BBC documentary, realizing that I was certainly not told the entire story of World War II. And what was the title of that documentary? The Savage Piece. And you can find that, I think, at like the Daily Dot or something like that. But The Savage Piece is 100% worth watching. And then you'll realize you'll just be ripped into a new reality in regards to what happened to just German-speaking citizens who did nothing wrong. And going through and understanding their genocide it just makes you go, why not include this? That's the first question you ask, is why not just include this in the official story of World War II? Why were they then silenced, and why were speech laws passed to prevent them from talking about their own history? Why is one genocide more important than the other? And yeah, I do speak about topics like that. It's important to me. Sarah writes, any thoughts on the Brian Koberger case, G or NG? Would love for Candace to cover this. I actually am definitely going to cover that, so don't you worry. It will happen. In terms of new merch, guys, we have some on the website, and letting you know, you guys are going to love this merch. Look at Make Him a Sandwich. Girls just want to have manly men. I'm really proud of this. Anti-feminist as I am, getting ready for the book launch. Our website, as I told you guys, we use Patmos for that. You might have seen my website. If you think it's pretty and you like it and it's nice and revamped, that's because we've used Patmos, which is the most trusted alternative to big hosting. They have multiple data centers and a US customer service base, and they have been so great with us, such great value in terms of hosting and web development needs. So if you are someone that's looking to do a website and you're looking to work with someone, I imagine that you switch to Patmos. Visit patmos.tech to make the switch today. That's patmos.tech. Dare I look into the live chat right now? What are you guys saying? Oh, someone says Jeremy Boring is a wild name. This person says, nothing rhymes with kombucha should be one of my shirts. You're so right. Nothing rhymes with kombucha. If that's not on Taylor Swift's next album, like, what are we even doing? What have I even done? I've wasted my entire year, my entire pregnancy, if that song is not on her next album. We will see what happens. Anyways, you guys, we will keep you up to date on all matters Daily Wire. I'm sure we will have more updates in the next 24 hours. I hope I reported on everything responsibly, what was innuendo, what was rumor, and what thus far is fact. And I look forward to reading all of your comments. We will see you tomorrow.